I'm so glad to have more than one choice. It's the end of an era. That phone has been with me since June 2017 and it's just finally lost its ability to do lives. So it's not the network, it's the phone. It's tired. It's done it. Oh, okay. Now I see I'm online. It's a bit different doing lives on my PC, but it's nice to have a choice. So here I am, and I'm looking for the information. Here we go. It's all different on my computer, but I know it's going to go. So hello, and let's do some rocks while we're just waiting for the magic to happen and all the beautiful people to show up. We still have rocks. Oh, and look, I don't know how it looks to you, but there's a little bit of me off to the side. The camera does weird things. This is, what is it? Chrysoprase. And it's beautiful because the light comes through it. And this is my office, right? Welcome to the office. It's very scruffy. It's not like the lounge. Hasn't been done up. It's full of stuff. This is where things happen. But we can still do lives. And actually, I'm going to pull this down a bit. No. There we go. Now the world is wonky. Okay, right. So, chrysoprase, beautiful, green and soothing. And I love the way the light comes through it. So here we are. And this... Oh, I've got to push the button. Honestly. Talk about having everything bump. And let me tell you, yesterday my laptop broke. So it's just the time for technology to say, I need replacing. I'm very proud of how I dealt with that yesterday. I didn't get upset at all, just dealt with it. The main thing being that if I don't have a laptop, I can't meditate, and then the wheels would fall off. But I found one I could borrow, and it's all good. This is chrome diopside from Nyamba in Zambia. And it probably looks black, but it's actually a very dark green. Oh, and I've just remembered there will be comments down here. Hi, Heather. It's completely different doing a live in the office, as you well know, because this is where I do training lives for the Heartfield. And the comments, yeah, I have to scroll to make them happen. They don't become visible automatically. So getting this a bit closer to the camera, and it's all back to front, is quite interesting. I'm going to have to get another phone. It's very exciting. I knew there'd need to be an upgrade, but yeah, this is just tricky. But we do the best we can. It's a very, there you go. That's better. I know it looks black, but it's actually a very dark green. And that's the chrome. Things with chrome in them tend to be green in one way or another. And the white stuff is probably quartz. But it's kind of gnarly. And I like this rock. It's been a gnarly kind of time as far as technology is concerned. Yeah. So, we have to improvise. And that's why I'm so late today. Because I like walking up the hill and back. I made contingency plans and I thought, oh yeah, what happens if it's not the network and it's the phone, which has turned out to be. So if you look on my page, you'll see there's a tiny little video where I went live on the phone. It did exactly what it did on Friday all over again. I thought, right, it is the phone. Good morning, Amy. It's lovely to see you here in my office. So, let me... details! Okay, I'm just going to have to stay on target here. This is different because I can actually see what I'm supposed to talk about. I have to use my memory. So the fun part about growth is, there is that moment when you look at yourself and you think, oh God, I have to change this about me. I have to do better. Something has to be better. I'm doing Friday again because Friday was really disrupted because my phone had broken, right? It just can't handle doing lives anymore. It cuts out every few seconds. So, it's tired. I've got to replace it. So, and it's interesting because I would use my laptop, but my laptop has also, the solid state drive just stopped mid-sentence in something I was listening to. And I was very grateful it didn't stop in the middle of a meditation. And it stopped at a time when I could just ring up my neighbours and say, hey, have you got a laptop I can borrow for a few days? Like, yeah. I mean, how perfect is that? Even when the crap comes down, it arranges itself beautifully. So, it's all good. So when you notice that things need to change, that you need to grow, that something needs to improve, that's a massive success. It's not an, oh my God, how awful I've been, although we often have that feeling, it's like, oh, really, I'm so embarrassed. Believe me, I have looked back I've spent far too much energy looking back at who I used to be and just squirming, and that's something I had to let go of, which wasn't easy because those feelings of, oh my God, are actually pretty addictive, like most of the stress feelings. So the thing is, you notice something about yourself you want to change, and you start doing the work to think, well, okay, if I've been like that, who do I want to be, and how do I want to be, and how does that work out in real life? What do I have to be thinking, and what do I have to be feeling, and when I'm thinking and feeling differently, what will I be doing? All of those things, right? That's normal. That's the process of change. Is you recognize something you want to be different, and then you start to create a new ideal of who you want to be. And that's groovy. And then comes the fun part, where you actually have to go and do it. And the going and doing it bit, of course, means that in your brain, there's a whole lot of neurological hardware that you've built up and used over many years around who you are and how you are in this behaviour that you want to change. And it means that you're going to have to not do that enough for that hardware for those neural connections to prune apart and for the chemistry of your body to change. And you're going to have to practice doing the new self that you want to be enough to create new neural connections that then support this new identity and this new way that you want to be and corresponding chemistry. That's just what you have to do. Just having a quick look here for comments. Okay. It's alright, I'm not missing anything important. If you do, if you want to comment, I will see them eventually, but they don't come up automatically. So that's the process of change. That's why it takes time, because we have hardware and we have chemistry that we are used to doing and being, and it's familiar, it's accustomed, it's easy. And you can say, what do you mean? I hate feeling depressed. I don't like feeling angry all the time. I don't like feeling lonely all the time. But you just think about how long you've been thinking and feeling and behaving that way in terms of how much hardware there is in your brain and how your body's used to it. And if you've been doing that, however long you've been doing that, you might have to take maybe 1/10 or maybe 1/20 of the time that you've been doing the thing that you don't want to do anymore to start making inroads into doing and being something else. It does take time, and that's why. You can make a really clear decision in your mind, and sometimes the decision will be so powerful that that's it, you're done. And it's great when that happens. It's really cool when that happens. Oh my God! And you hear the stories of people who they go through their life and whatever's happening, something comes along and kapow, they've just made a decision, they never look back. But I think inevitably with that kind of person, there's a lot of something that's been going on before they reach that critical mass, and then they embody it. For most of us, we're much more conscious of the process that we're going through to reach that critical mass. And the critical mass is when you pruned apart enough of the old neural connections and made enough of the new ones and invested enough of your energy and your habits and you're becoming that person that, the new one is older than the old, is better than the old one. And so the point being that while you're doing that, there's a lot of so-called failure going on. Now, why is that? Because you've made this decision, you have this intention, I want to be like this and not like that. So why is it that you keep going back to what you don't want to be? Well, for any kind of ingrained personality trait, this is who I am and how I've been, and I do it without thinking about it, and it's normal for me to be this way, even though I'd really like to be something else. There are lots of triggers in your environment to make that program go off. There are people, right? The people that you react to without thinking in this certain way. There are places and situations and circumstances that remind you of who you've been up till now. We when you go to the coffee shop, you feel a certain way. It's just normal. You like that waiter, you don't like that waitress. You like this food, you don't like that one. You know that there's a noisy group of people that sit over in that corner most of the time and you don't like that. It's just normal. You know how it is when you go to the coffee shop. And then one day you decide you're not going to be this sort of really judgmental person maybe. And you walk into the coffee shop and you think, oh my God, there's that, there's those people over in the corner and they're just having a good time. Shit, I made this judgment about them a long time ago and I've been inhabiting that all the time. And so you sit there and think, okay, I'm not going to judge those people. And you have your coffee. And then, they get a bit rowdy. And there's the stimulus and the response is very easy, automatic, autonomic, to just come up and kaboom, there you are feeling irritated at them because they're so noisy and disruptive and it's a coffee shop and it should be a peaceful place. That's what happens. There's environmental triggers. And when you're not aware of this, you're just going through your life and things in your environment make you go off and that's what happens. It's just what happens. It's life, it's normal. Good morning, Linda! But when you start to pay attention and you notice, oh my God, I've gone off again. And I looked at that person behind the counter and their hair's still that weird cut that I think is really sucky on them. Oh, and what if I can remove my judgment? But they look so awful. I think they should look different. And what if I can let go? There's this constant flip-flop, 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 flip-flop inside our heads and our bodies between the old self and the new self. And there's so much around us to inspire the old behaviour. And so the thing is, before, you didn't even notice when you were doing that. Now, you notice it. And that noticing is sometimes enough to drive you insane. Because, it's like, and we all go through this, right? When we're, me too, when you're in a process of saying, I don't want to be like this and I want to be like that, there's the initial, okay, I'm going to make this change, and then you create the new self and you start to inhabit that new self, and you're not terribly conscious of it yet, but you notice when you do, and it's like, oh cool, I remembered. And almost always there is a time, and may not just be one, it depends how entrenched the self is that you're trying to change, where the flip-flopping between the two of them is so intense that you feel like you're losing your mind. Oh my God, can I just be one or the fucking other? And the thing is, at that point, when you're having to choose so often, and it's like it's endless and it's never going to change, and it's, you actually are losing your mind. You are losing the mind you need to lose. And that moment when you just keep saying, no, everything in me is raging. It wants to be judgmental of all these people that I have judged for the last, however long I've been coming to this cafe. I've made up all these opinions in my mind about who these people are and what my perception of them means about them. I haven't spoken to any of them. I just, I've been this judgmental person. Now I don't want to be this judgmental person. Hi Jen! And oh my God, it's so hard because I'm so used to it. Satya, Andrew, Julian, my God, you all snuck in while I was here. Last week's Bumpy Live, my blessed phone that I've had for 3.5 years doing lives is basically packed a sand. It said, I've done enough lives. So now I have to get another phone. And my laptop's solid state drive died on the weekend. Isn't it exciting? There's new things coming in. So that's why we're in the office with all the, the mess of creation. This is the office. It's not like the lounge. So, the intense, oh God, can this just not be so overwhelmingly, that point at which you just would love to give up, but you keep on going, is the point at which that old mind is really starting to die. And I've heard my inspiration Joe Dispenza talk about this moment often. And this is the moment when you have a lot of synaptic pruning going on, so those old connections that you don't want, the old identity that is represented in the neural nets in your brain, those neural nets are starting to prune apart. Because there's a certain amount of glue that is available in your brain to hold things together, to hold neural connections together. But if you start firing another thought more often than the old thought, then the glue gets taken from the old thought and put in the new thought to make that one stick together, and then the old thought literally dies. It pulls apart, it prunes apart. And when that new thought becomes more accustomed to more what you do all the time, then the chemistry that corresponds to that thought, because remember there are lots and lots of different neurotransmitters in the little places on the dendrites that, there's these little pockets, and they hold neurotransmitters, lots and lots of different sorts of neurotransmitters. And there's a synaptic cleft, which is this little gap between the dendrite, which is the end of one neuron, and the other bit that I can't even remember, which is the beginning of the other. And the impulse has to jump across the gap. And a neurotransmitter is part of that process. But the neurotransmitter, there's many different kinds of neurotransmitters, but they don't all respond to the same frequency. That's how the nerve cell knows which neurotransmitter to choose. Your different thoughts have different frequencies. So you choose a different neurotransmitter by thinking a different thought, and then the impulse crosses it's literally a spark. It is electricity. Jumps across the synaptic cleft and goes to the next neuron. And that's how it works. That is how it works. And so when you don't fire the old thoughts, or you inhibit the old thoughts, you go to the cafe and you think, I'm not gonna, and then you think, hang on, I was going to think the thought that every person I see is a piece of divinity in a body, and I may not understand, but I'm going to recognize their divinity. Oh yeah, right, that's the thought I wanted to be thinking. There's a piece of God. There's God in a body. There's a bunch of gods in a body making a loud noise, having a party. This is a different thought. Oh, yeah, you see, you learned it. It was a habit. Yeah, it was just a habit you taught, and it becomes your identity. Mari, good morning. So, yeah, and we do get programmed, right, by our parents and important people when we're young, because there's no filter on the analytical, there's no analytical mind to say, no, I don't want to be like that when we're small. So, when you are at that point of just tearing your hair out because the old thought is screaming at you so loud, and you keep on choosing the new one, that is actually the point at which the old thing really starts to die. But it always kicks up a stink at that point. And you see, not only are the old synaptic connections pruning apart and you're making new ones, and the glue is getting stolen from the old one and putting in the new, but you're changing your epigenetic expression as well. And the body can literally be between the old chemistry and the new, and it's like, oh, I don't know which way to go, And so it's literally why you can feel like you're losing your mind, because you are. And you want to crawl out of your skin. And you're just so, but you persist. You persist. If you recognize that this is what is happening and it's not bad, it's good, then you just know that you're going to carry on. You're going to hang in there, because this is actually what you want. Oh my God, this is what you want. Now, what else did I want to say today? This is what is going right. And the thing to celebrate is your awareness. Is the fact that you are actually noticing when you're going unconscious again. You're noticing every single flip-flop now, which is painful. But you're noticing it. You're not just, oh, whatever. I'm just going to do what's normal and easy to me. No, you're noticing it. And you are willfully choosing something else. That makes you a hero. That makes you superhuman. Because it's normal and human to just keep doing the thing, to just keep running the old program and the habit and this is just who I am. No, it's not who you are. You're a piece of divinity in a body too. You just learned how to be. And, do you want to keep doing that? And this is why it's challenging to change, because of the hardware and the chemistry and who we think we are. And we use our habits and the stimuli in our environment as an excuse. And sometimes it's pretty damn hard to make a different choice. I am not for a moment saying this is easy. For some people, it's really extreme circumstances, really challenging things. That's why I say it's superhuman to actually overcome yourself. Yeah, it's a lot less painful if we don't judge ourselves, Linda. You're quite right. If you can actually recognise, hey, you're in the fight. You haven't given up. You haven't just said, oh, this is too hard. I'm going back to being who I was. That's greatness. That is greatness. That is, yeah, and the change happens and it does surprise you, because you walk into the cafe and you look at those people and you say, oh, there's God in the body. And there's no argument. Oh, I actually did that. Oh, wow, woohoo! And then, of course, you get a synchronicity. Somebody rocks up to you who you always thought was one of those people that you didn't like, and you have a different interaction with them, and you think, oh, that never would have happened if I still had this idea about them. I've changed. Whoa, cool. So, this thing, it's called metacognition. The ability to pay attention to what you're paying attention to think about what you're thinking about, and the wonderful frontal lobe in your brain, which allows you to inhibit your behaviour. It's an effort, but you can do it, and make new choices and create new outcomes. That's what makes us superhuman. Just to be human is to run the program. But, it's a superpower to be able to observe yourself and think, I want something else. Now, how am I going to do that? And embark upon this process. Now, that's an interesting question, Linda. If the change isn't painful to make, there may be painful repercussions that happen later. I don't know. I think we can be attached to the idea that change is difficult. I think it's often challenging. But I do notice that as I've got better at it, it gets easier. And it is actually, thinking about myself, it is actually less painful than it used to be. Stuff still comes up. God, it did this morning. The flip-flop just goes and it's like, yay, I did it. This morning, I slept badly. I just wanted to crawl out of my skin. I was itchy. I was angry. My brain was definitely in high beta when I sat down to meditate. It was such a freaking relief to get out of that. For no particular reason. But I just know there's stuff that's clearing out of my system, and sometimes it's going to happen. But it isn't as painful as it used to be, no. So there is a progression. If you keep facing your stuff and doing the work to clear it, and for me that means going into the unified field, getting beyond my analytical mind, letting my autonomic nervous system get a new program, it's just way better for me. It does get easier. So I think maybe we could say that it's painful when it starts, because we're so uncomfortable anyway. But when you start to have more faith in your ability to change yourself, then even when stuff comes up, it's like, okay, yeah, this really hurts, but I know I can move through it. And that is a wonderful thing. Okay, as usual, I've gone over time. Surprise, surprise. But hey, I'm allowed. Everything's disrupted. There's newness coming in. So, big love. Who knows? I may find a way to go live on my borrowed laptop in the lounge tomorrow. We'll see. Until then, thank you so much for joining with me. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.